Stadium coming off the line.
Thomas, he doesn't catch it. It's still loose in there. It's cleared and now it's put in. Ordaz will claim it. LAFC equalize. Martinez carrying. Morris defending still. David Martinez.
Oh my goodness.
That's the
John Thornton has done so many good things at LAFC, but one of the biggest surprises in his tenure is the fact that he signed this guy when Ajax, Bayern Munich, and everyone else was all over one of the best 18-year-olds in the world. Can he be more consistent? Sure. Is he raw? Absolutely. But does he have something?
Done, but we are live on the tubes, so if you are there, please hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it over there. You can send some comments as well. And yeah, Eric, we are here once again to talk LAFC. One more week, a crazy week for our team. Lots of up and downs. We had the midweek game for the CCL, or CCC as they call it now, and a big success there. And then the big letdown over the weekend in Seattle. We'll break down both games. But yeah, man, welcome, fourth episode. I'm so happy to keep doing this with you, buddy. What did you think of this week? I know you're at the stadium during the week. What's your overall feel of this team? A big roller coaster week for us, man.
Yeah. It's for myself, it's kind of how I expected it. I didn't expect the 5-2 blowout in Seattle. I expected them to play it a little tighter than that because I knew there'd be a lot of rotation. But all in all, for me, myself, I can't complain. I honestly could give zero shits about that loss in Seattle. What's important to me is Columbus. What's important to me is Columbus tomorrow. I would take 5-0 losses in league play to advance in the Champions Cup. Of course, the supporter shield at the end of the season would be nice, but we know enough now with this league. You kind of got to choose your battles of where to focus. And for a big ambition team like LAFC, a team that's seen some of the most success in the last, 2-3 years straight in MLS, the Champions Cup is the appropriate trophy for us to go hard at. And that is the premier trophy for our league. Bigger than the cup, it's that continental trophy, baby.
Absolutely, man. And you know what? We were so close a couple of years ago. It really hurt to lose that. And, the path to get there, it's going to be extremely tricky. We got a lot going on. If we beat this particular team that we have, Columbus, right, and we have a big advantage to do that, we will likely face Inter Miami and Messi, which is no easy feat. We know what that means. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I know we're going to break down the game yet, but yeah, you're absolutely right, Eric. I like how you're kind of seeing this. To me, it's a much bigger stage. The stakes are higher, and you had a nice clip I posted of you talking about what early points meant in this season in Major League Soccer. Yes, they mean a lot. But for most of these teams, they're not having to play the Continental Cup early on. So we do, and I think that having the focus right now on this cup, and if that means eating some points on the road, which is more than likely it's going to happen anyways. It's happened last year when we were at RSL. So, you might as well just let it ride, right? So that's kind of how I saw it this week. We did the job. We actually rested some players for the week during the weekend, and for once or the other, it worked out. So now we go to Ohio with a nice cushion, with a nice advantage, in order for us to actually get to the next round and don't have any surprises. But look, let's go to Tuesday. Let's start with that game. Let's start breaking down that game. You were there, very empty stadium. Let's talk about that a little bit. What has been the vibe like when you go there on a Tuesday? You've been good about it. I haven't because I live in LA, and as all of us, we live in different parts of town, so it's sometimes hard to get there on time. I believe the last game was even at 7 o'clock. This one was at 7:30. But talk to me about the vibe. I think it's been a little bit of a bummer for people. They're expecting, that what we see on the weekends at BMO Stadium.
Yeah, I think it was Justin Ruderman put out a tweet on that the final attendance for that was 7,300 and change, somewhere around there. So, It's rough, and a lot of it. This is a LA thing on a Tuesday night. It's a very hard with the 7:30 game. Everybody in Los Angeles, we know what our commute is like. Our commute is brutal, and some people just have trouble getting in the game at that time. The other thing as well, I think, is just it's too many extras with the season tickets. A lot of them are season ticket holders, but it's people. I think the last few years have opted into these tournaments with ticket prices that are right around face value, and then they've seen the tickets basically get cut in half in the secondary market because the opponents have been teams like Vancouver or Colorado or teams that we play, 4 or 5 times a year. So leaving work early, hustling to get to the stadium, and for some people they just can't, just for a game against a team they've seen 3 other times or will see 3 other times, 4 other times that year. It's hard to do. But what I will say for the 7,300 something in there were no fair weather fans in the bunch. If you're going to that game, you're making plans to get out of work early, or you're bringing your, in our case, wife brought her jersey and stuff to the game or to work so I could pick her up from work and head straight to the stadium. And that's just what it is. There's additional logistic factors that go in when you're in Angelino and you got to go to these games. But the crowd was pumped. The ones that were there, attendance, it sucks to see it for such a big game. I mean, these are the biggest games of our season are going to be these Champions League.
Yeah, and I guarantee you it's going to warm up. First of all, when if and when the Miami the games happen, they're going to be sold out, no doubt about that. And when the Liga MX teams are visiting, so long as one of the top 4 teams, I would say, those games will be sold out as well. And if it ends up being an MLS v MLS or even a Carson v LAFC, that game will be sold out. So I have no doubt in my mind people will show up. I do have a problem with the early games being so empty. I really believe everyone involved in planning this tournament should kind of make a committed effort, perhaps, to offer, discounted tickets for a segment of the population that may want to watch it. So I really believe that there's ways for you to get a little bit more butts and seats there for a Tuesday game. Yes, it's really challenging getting anywhere in LA, but it doesn't stop people in LA to get there. You just have more competition, I believe, on those days. And
yeah.
You just got to try a little bit harder. And I think as someone like you and I that have been season ticket holders for several years now, it allows us to have this conversation, right? That, you've been there for 8, I've been there for 5, so it's kind of like, hey, these kind of extras, they hurt in our pocket too. And we ended up having to pay full ticket, full price for for games that are kind of meaningless in a way. And if we try to resell it, you're getting 25% or so. Again, I'm not crying about it. I'm just talking a little bit about the mechanics behind it, which I think it's important.
Yeah, and I think for this one as well, because I looked at this, and this one had more people opt out, I think, than before. And part of this is it ends up being a leap of faith. I looked at it, and I was very close to opting out myself. I pretty much opted into all of them because I expect our team to get to the final, and I know when you get to those last games is when the payoff really happens, and that's where – you save it. If you go in, if we crash out tomorrow, we've all taken a bath on these tickets, But I looked at it and I was like, all right, if we get to that Miami game, I mean, these tickets are going to be going for, hundreds of dollars. It's going to be basically like half of the whole season ticket cost on this game. So, I looked at it like that. If I want to see that game, I have to take it's almost like gambling. I got to take a risk on the first couple rounds that we're going to go through it, and Colorado hitting in preseason, that's a crapshoot. And we saw it was almost a crapshoot because nobody's in form. And then Columbus is, they've had our number. So it's hard to believe on Columbus with the history what it is. But we're in a good position. We're not there yet. I'm not going to spend my Miami tickets yet while we still have 90 minutes to go against Columbus. But I'm feeling pretty good.
No guests today from Columbus. They bailed on us last minute. We call that fear. It is what it is. But, our lively guest last week was very confident coming into LA that it was going to be a beatdown in favor of the Ohio team. and it was the opposite. Talk to me a little bit about that first half. First off, LAFC comes in with what we believe to be its strongest lineup, right? Not really anybody missing. A midfield of Delgado and Tillman, which we expected, right? For a while now to be. And so talk to me about what you saw there from the first half, the quick goal and the mistake from Columbus.
Yeah, it was, we did what a good team is supposed to do, which is, and it's something we've talked about as well, and we got to treat Columbus like that. When you make mistakes against a good team, you're going to get punished. And
Correct.
This is one we had talked about in the last show. That was our 5th game of the season. Because Columbus got the bye, it was only their 3rd competitive game of the season. So I do think that those guys haven't quite played themselves into game form yet. They're not quite all on the same page. Neither are we, but we've had an extra 180 minutes to kind of, play with each other when it really matters. And so, you can only gel as a team by playing those meaningful competitive minutes. And we've just had more of them. And it wasn't a point where we were kind of gassed out. So I think that really worked to our advantage, which was something I thought ahead of time for the game, looking at it, that was going to be to our advantage, them having that early bye. So we looked a little better organized. Our press was better. Columbus looked like they weren't quite so sure what to do passing out the back. They have some new pieces on their team. And so they made that mistake to Bouanga. Bouanga pounced. That was it, 1-0. And we just, that first half, otherwise, we really limited their chances, which we've done against opponents all season. The spine of our defensive spine is absolutely solid. The Marlon Long pairing was pretty much unbeatable for them. Moving forward, it'll be interesting to see what it's like without Marlon, as he picked up that injury against Seattle. But I think they have to roll. The depth is getting shy. But anyways, with that first half, it was just,
we got Chanot maybe coming back, right? So I we'll talk about that, but or maybe even now. Like, don't you think that depth kind of works itself out? Because we were 5 deep. It's still, Tafari is still like not a bad center back to have as a depth piece. And then you have Chanot. I don't know what Chanot's looking like, but he looked questionable in the last game, which means he's almost ready. So do you think then maybe Chanot just inserts himself back in the lineup, and then Marlon moves back to the back? I think that's the advantage of having 5 in the back there.
It is. I don't think Chanot's going to be ready to go. Trundle in the press conference was asked about Chanot, that he hasn't played since preseason, asked when he's ready to go, and Coach Dolo said very soon.
Well, but look, for this game, it really does not matter, right? We do have, 10 days now to prepare for Miami if you don't have a collapse in Ohio. And by the way, it's possible. You see what Seattle did to us this past weekend. But for the most part, you expect LAFC to be tight and not give three goals on the road twice in a row.
Let me stop you. Actually, we get a little break in Champions Cup.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it's a whole month almost.
The next round is going to be played the first week of April. So
there's a couple weeks in there.
Yep.
Which is great because now the tournament really kind of heats up, right, and goes into another gear. And I think we all need a break, right? Whether you're go to the stadium twice a week, whether you're players being taxed twice a week, you're starting to see a little bit of that take a toll on these players.
They got thrown into it, man. Yeah, they got thrown into it. This is going to be like their 7th and 8th game in basically like 3 weeks. So after this game, they're going to get into, I believe they have 3 weeks in a row with just 1 game a week. So they're going to have that full practice time that Trundle talks about, because when you're in 2 games every week, he said, you're basically you're playing and recovering, and you don't really have time to go back to the practice field and start to work on certain things. Like, this is something that just isn't realistic to do, because it's rest and then it's prepare for the next team.
It's rest and prepare, very little tactical work.
Exactly.
A lot of recovery. Very little personal time too. Just kind of starts taking a toll on your mind. You don't have a lot of time with your family. You're just out of your routine, and sometimes for players that means a lot, right? So, but yeah, let's talk a bit about the crew game still. So, That
Yeah.
Bouanga 2-0, right? We had the gas from the crew come up and talk about some of their absences and how they were so confident in their coach's ability to develop players that it really didn't matter that they were missing some of these guys. You had Moreira, like defensive player of the year, which has blanked Bouanga for the most part in the series, and hasn't allowed him to do anything. And then here, Bouanga comes out of this game with a brace. So talk to me about that matchup. I know, you sit there. What did you see from Bouanga versus Moreira, and how did he end up coming up with that advantage outside of the goal?
I mean, this is just one of Bouanga. He just abused Moreira, and that's all there is to it. He pretty much abused that entire back line. When we talk about Bouanga FC, that's what Bouanga FC looks like. He comes in and he just takes over games, and when he has those games, he can get doubled and it doesn't even matter. And not even to mention Martinez missed two pretty good chances. This could have easily been a 4-0 or 5-0 game. Probably should have been at least a 4-0.
Yeah.
That was huge problems. Columbus offensively, Diego Rossi had a decent chance around the 35th minute, and that's really all they had all game, nothing else. So, I mean, to me, again, this game is really a story about defense, which to me is what the story of this season has been so far, is just a really, really strong defense. Never mind Seattle, throw that out. That's a forgettable game. But, we go into Columbus. Columbus has to break us down. Nobody has broken this team down when we have our best 11 on the field and they're ready to lock it down and go at it. And so I think Columbus is going to have trouble breaking us down. Nancy is a great coach, but I think I don't think he could do it with everything. And I think we just outmatched them in too many places up and down the field right now.
Man, I was looking at that lineup they had, and there's quite a lot of players that I don't really know or haven't seen a ton of. So, a lot of young faces, a lot of new faces. And again, our guest said, hey, I learned a lot of these guys, same system and whatnot. But again, I don't see the same impact. And yes, they're missing their big piece in Cucho, but it's not even Cucho himself. They're really missing, with Camacho not being there, he didn't even flinch. It's oh, Camacho's not that great. And I'm well, he's the kind of sheriff of your defense. And I think they miss Camacho more than anybody else, in that center defense, because he's kind of responsible for that first ball. And, that's exactly how we were able to get that first goal. So very good pressing. The pressing I've been really... it's been much better this year, nonetheless, right? I think that you and I can agree with that. And then it led to that nice first goal, which, Columbus fumbled with it. And I also attribute it to be a little bit of an early season problem. But hey, I want to ask you about that second goal, which was such a beautiful goal from Denis Bouanga. What did you see? It seems like everybody was whoa, that's really what he's all about, isn't it? That kind of performance and in that type of goal. What did you see there?
That is an MLS DP goal. That's nobody other than DPs score stuff like that. I mean, that was almost up there with Rossi's double doink against Leon. Just a gorgeous golazo, and that's the whole term of it. None you can do.
It's pretty, buddy.
It's amazing. I mean, when you watch, that's something watching the games, and you're like, how do those guys do that? And that's one right there. How do guys make that kick over the keeper? That is just, it's insane. I mean, he hit a dime.
What's interesting about this week is that we had probably two of the most memorable goals in LAFC's history, right? Between this and the Martinez goal. And it was just a week of mixed results and mixed feelings about all of it. But I was very excited about these goals nonetheless. I'm still going to show that Martinez goal once I get that video up. But, man, I think with Bouanga, he slots so well in that spot. And, he just kind of hit it the right way. And there was absolutely nothing the goalkeeper could do, 2-0. And then you go into, well, I believe, halftime, right? And then LAFC just kept bouncing at it. Columbus, like I said, had no answer for them whatsoever. Very flat team. I don't know if it was tired. Some of it was a physical an advantage from from LAFC over Columbus. The fact that we did not have to be the traveling team in this situation.
The one
but
thing,
do you think that was a physical advantage as well?
Yeah. The one thing I think Columbus did really well, which not every team can do, but it's something to watch, is the way they would keep possession. Like I said, starting the game off, they went a full almost 2.5 minutes without us touching the ball even once. And I think we touched it once.
Interesting.
It was like a one-touch clearance back to them, and that was one thing. And they also, when they came out in the second half, did the same thing where they were really good at holding possession. They were really good at playing out of our press and our counter press. Although, we were able – once they got out of the press, our defensive structure held up enough that we were able to recover and get back in place and not make it easy for them. We didn't give them transition opportunities. But when they did keep the ball, they kept the ball. But, to our credit, it looked like our boys really adapted well to how the flow of the passing was going, and they started to jump routes on where the pass was going, and that's really when they turned it around. But I think if Columbus was a little further in the season, a little sharper, I think they would have held some of that possession a little better than they did against us.
Yeah. So what I don't understand, and you gotta move players, right? But it doesn't make a ton of sense that you move Cucho right before you have to defend the CCL. It does say a little bit about how much the crew doesn't care about the CCL, perhaps. I don't know, right? But it's odd that you move your best player right before that tournament. You have a bye, so it's not like you didn't have time to prepare for that, and you failed to replace that player with someone that at least could try, right, to fill the gap left by Cucho, because that's not it. Like, you can't do it with just Diego Rossi. I think it puts Diego in a very uncomfortable situation once again, right, where I think he felt some of that perhaps in LA, where he was kind of carrying the team a little bit. The difference was he was probably underpaid then, and now he's getting paid now, right? So, but I'm surprised that Columbus chose to move Cucho when they did, and then immediately insert another star there, which is something that an Atlanta United would do, right? They always like to start the season with a bang. So what do you make of that? Like, is that kind of a little bit of an FU about this tournament? Another one, right? You know what I mean? I keep trying to find some charm in this, because you and I love the intercontinental play, right? Especially because of South America, but sometimes just pisses me off, like how much not even the franchises give this tournament the right type of attention. I mean, here comes the champs of the Leagues Cup, so technically our second best team, and they basically sell their star and basically don't show up in the first game. What do you think?
Yeah, this is one of those, especially with the Cup, and we've seen that with Carson this year, is that the way the mechanisms with the GAM and the TAM and the thank you, ma'am, go, that your teams have to get busted up. And when they won their Cup, they didn't really dismantle their team super hard, which said to me, okay, they're working at this more, but at some point it's going to fall off. I haven't looked at their GAM numbers since this came out, but I would imagine they're kind of down there. And they were probably, if they weren't right, they weren't as bad against the cap as Carson, but they definitely had to have been spending more than they're getting every year, which means, you burn through your reserves, and then you kind of get to where you have to build it back up again. I don't know if that definitely was the case, but I do notice after their Cup win, like, they didn't dismantle their team as much as like we have both times we've won.
Well, I think there was not much to dismantle there, perhaps, so I always kind of saw some of that, other than, a couple of big pieces like Cucho and such. But do you
want to know something else, as you were saying, that I thought? I can think of a number 9 in this league that's not fitting in with his team that would probably be a much better fit to replace Cucho on their team than he is with the team he's currently on.
Okay, that's a great segue, because I want to talk about Olivier Giroud, and I know who you're implying and talking about. So let's talk about Giroud. And first of all, he does not even get 1 minute against Columbus. And was he even in the bench? I believe he was. He just wasn't featured because you didn't need attacking power, right, in the 3-0 game. But what did you make of that? Did you think it was just the fact that he didn't get minutes because we didn't need attack, so therefore he didn't even get, a chance to play that game. What did you think of that?
This is hard to speculate because
Well, it's not a speculation. I'm just wondering, what do
yeah.
you think of the fact he didn't play at all in a very important game for us, right?
Oh, my thought is because we really wanted to win this game, and Ebobisse gives us a better chance of winning. I think that Ebobisse is the first. He has to be the first choice 9. Like, we're just humoring our highest paid player at this point to have him starting in the game. I think it's appropriate to have Ebobisse rested most of the last game. I expect him to be basically coming in for another 90 minutes if needed against Columbus. Maybe Giroud subs in later if we're comfortably ahead. But no, to me, Ebobisse has to be the first choice out there. Giroud is the backup. He has to be the backup.
So you have benched Giroud. And again, I'm just saying, if you're the coach, you're officially benching Olivier Giroud at this point.
I mean, if we're being honest, also, if you go back,
and that's all there is, right? Because I think there's a little bit of a giving up aspect of it, and
he should have been benched. He should have been benched before the playoffs last season. He shouldn't have started the Seattle game. Like, it should have been Kamara starting that. Like, this is proven there's no production there. He's one, not the right fit, and two, I don't think he's put in enough effort to be the right fit. I mean, even the New York Times and Athletic wrote a story a couple days ago, basically is Giroud a complete failure in MLS? And, can you give me an argument why it's not?
And the sample size is starting to get bigger and bigger. And now we can't say, oh, just wait, or he's going to get his form. Right now there's very little that we're seeing from that player. And the consequences of having him play are very wide as well. It's who is playing around him and who's going to come play with him. And if he's not working, what does that mean for the Griezmann plan, which we all now know is a real plan, right? Whether he's coming or not, we don't know, but we all know that that's a real plan. Nobody can deny that. But I don't think you have a Griezmann without Giroud, and that's, to me, a speculative reason why, we can't just abandon Giroud yet. Now, does he need to come off the bench more often and show that he's hungry and ready? I don't know. I actually don't know if that's the solution for a player like him. If you're going to give that player 60 minutes, does it matter whether it's the first 60 or the last 60? Does it? I think for the player's confidence, it's probably worse that he's coming off the bench. Unless we're seeing more production of him when he does, and I haven't seen that yet. Don't you agree? I mean, don't you think it's almost like giving up if you bench him for good for Jeremy Ebobisse, a player that you clearly brought in for depth?
What this is, I mean, this comes into Moneyball. Like, if he's a good hitter, why don't he hit? Right. It's just look at the numbers, look at the stats, look at the data. If you look at Ebobisse's data and you look at Giroud's data, man, their stats are not a comparison at all. For the Ebobisse, just the amount of touches he gets of the ball per game per 90 minutes versus Giroud's touches per 90. Like, I don't have it in front of me, but I would not be surprised if Ebobisse's touching the ball at least 2 times more than Giroud is. His work rate's much better. His work rate is what's getting him into positions for teammates to get him with the ball. Giroud is just not getting open. He's just not able to create separation with defenders. He's not able to run into a space where people can get him. Like, for a long time, I think a lot of us were giving him too much leeway that the team around him isn't the right team. But both things can be true. The team around him isn't the best team to get to him, and he's not making the effort he needs to fit into this team. He's playing. Dolo plays a false 9. Giroud's probably never been a false 9, but he needs to learn fast. And until he learns, he needs to go behind Ebobisse, who has shown that he understands how to play a false 9 in Dolo's system.
Well, I think trying to teach Giroud how to play a false 9 now and his 38-year-old body, right, when he's that accomplished and when he doesn't have to prove to anybody anything else, it's a really tough sell. And if we were not going to bring or build a system without the false 9 to win, it doesn't even make sense why you brought the player, right? Can't teach an old monkey, its tricks went out, right? Like I can't say these things, but you see what I mean, right? Like the guy has already had his career, so to change him now, it's really hard. I think that's probably some of the frustration with Vela, right? When he became kind of later in his career with LAFC, he had to become more of the assist guy.
When they put him into the false nine too,
right? And they put him in that same position, and he just kind of like, he did it. In fact, he became a very accurate assist man for us, and added a ton of value for the one season in 2021. So it's possible, but in this case, it's not turning out to be. You mentioned the stats. One very interesting piece of data I saw is that the average distance of his shots here is much more. It's much further than it was in Milan when he was scoring. So he's literally initiating his shooting motion from further out, right? So he's It just kind of gives you a sense of how deep he was playing at AC Milan. I think the one thing, right, the one wild card that could really change everything is Mr. I hope I say this right, Cengiz Under. Because Under will be a guy that will play on the wing and will create his own shot.
Maybe this is something that'll help, and he'll get into those positions where he likes to score. Because he is a big, strapping dude. Like, when he gets within the 5-yard box, it's hard to push him out of anywhere, but the thing is we don't really play with a number 9 ever getting into the 5-yard box. That's just not how we roll. The only people who score in the 5-yard box is usually Hollingshead on a set piece.
Yeah, I mean, look, first of all, I want to apologize. My camera died, so I'm putting a backup up, so as you can see, but at least we have image. It's a live show, and we had some issues today. I apologize, and I appreciate you being here. And you're absolutely right. Look, it's a meritocracy, and it's been a meritocracy at LAFC for as long as I've been a fan. The big players, they get some leeway, but for the most part, the front office will do what's right, and the coaching staff will do what's right as well. They will cut bail on the player if they don't think it's going to work out long term. So I'm tempted to see what the data says, like the indicators. What do they say? What do they see in Giroud's games? Like, do they see anything positive out of him on the field at all, right? Like positioning, and is he opening up space for the need to do his thing? Like, I have no idea if there's anything positive coming out of his presence on the field, but I think we can now kind of move on and talk a little about the weekend's game, which was the Seattle game, where Giroud was on the field, so we'll transition to that. So talk to me a little bit about that particular lineup. We have, first of all, Thomas Hassal in goal, right? So a very different type of starting 11, What did you see? What did you like? I saw a really good comment from Daniel, like talking about, what do you expect Giroud to do in this situation, right? With so many games at this point in the season. But what did you like of that lineup with Smolyakov and such? Talk to me a little bit about what you saw from that starting 11 from Toronto.
Yeah, to me, it just looked like a preseason game, and that's kind of where I put it. There, you have Smolyakov's first start, you have Adam Saldana's first start. Just alone right there, a starting left back and a starting midfielder, with how important our midfielders are to our system. It was a rough go, and we didn't see the Adam Saldana we saw in the preseason against Club America. It wasn't horrible, but struggled a bit. And we saw the first goal came through over Smolyakov error. He kind of overcommitted and then just wasn't able to recover to get back. And it's what's going to happen. It's a new kid. He just got here like 3 weeks ago. Basically landed in country, ready to go. So I didn't take too much out of this game. And then if you look at the halftime, the 3 substitutions made, which was Long, Palencia, and Delgado for Igor Jesus, Marlin, and Hollingshead. Mm-hmm. I mean, basically they're subbing like for like, and it's like, okay, you guys are playing a half because you're going Tuesday, and then you guys are coming in to play a half because you're going Tuesday. Marlin getting injured is probably the worst thing. A game like that, you just want to come through it without any injuries. And Marlon going down with his hamstring is, that's going to be a tough one. And that puts us pretty thin now at center back. We're down to, if we're going to play 3 in the back anymore, we basically don't have anybody behind. De La Valle's still out. Chanot is still out. And now Marlon is out. That basically leaves Segura, Long, and Tafari. Tafari is still – it is. I'm not –
that could be like 90% of Major League Soccer's rosters, man. I think.
No, Segura, Long – Tafari has work to do. He's really fast. He's great recovery, but he's just not positionally disciplined enough yet. And I can see he gets caught out of position and gets pulled apart a little bit. So in a 4-back line, he's still, I think, to me, a bit of a liability, which is it's going to be Long and Segura now in the back line. And luckily, Segura is improving every week. I mean, he's pretty solid now. He's getting close to his 2019 form. He's not there, but he's not making the mistakes we saw him making towards the end of last season and even in preseason. So that part's good, but we cannot afford another injury to our back line or our midfield for that matter.
So you said Smoliakov is a fullback. I expect maybe for him to pick up some minutes against Austin. Even we might as well give him some minutes. Let him show his football. And I'm always encouraged by a player that takes his corners. That means that he's got something that the player, some strength in his leg or direction. So it to me is a sign of there's something about this kid, right? And he took the corner that gave LAFC the tying goal. So it's important to know what happened in that game, because if you look at the scoreline, it takes a little bit of your mind off what really happened during the game. And that game goes to halftime tied at 1. So how did you feel like when the game, and I know that you watched after, and that's okay, but how did you, if you were watching that game live, how would you feel going at it at half, 1-1 at Seattle? That's kind of what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I did watch after. It's just seeing them put in their first goal was rough.
And guess who was, by the way, who tied it for us? Please address that.
Yeah, no, 100%. Ordaz off of Smoliakov's cross. He put it in. It was a good ball, and it was one of those balls that kind of was it Andrew Thomas is the Seattle goalie. It slowed him up enough. He saw the ball. He didn't quite know what to do with it. And since he didn't know what to do with it, he wasn't able to collect it like he should, which led to the ball bouncing around. And, our lucky charm, Nathan Ordaz, knocked it home. So this was great. I would have taken a 1-1. Any draw out of that game I would have taken. The loss, as I said, I didn't really care if we lost at all. So that was definitely a positive. Yaya Boa. Was interesting to see him play. I'm not quite sure where he fits in our team yet, but we'll see. What else?
He's kind of playing that, that one role that he, maybe it's 3 roles in one, but, coach is putting him where they find some room for him, and he's sort of taking on the call. I saw him play, I believe, left back for a while there, and that was all right. But Yeboah gives you sort of valuable minutes, I believe, in these sort of trench games like the one against Seattle. And it's like I say, if you're going to take a loss, right, it's going to be on the road to a better team. So to field a team like we did is okay. The biggest issue I saw with this game is that it was winnable, and it showed a little bit of vulnerability out in our depth. And again, I'm not here to beat Tomas Hassau over the head, but I believe, based on what I've seen from Hugo Lloris, that shot from Paul Rothreck does not go in if it's Hugo Lloris back there, right? So now you have a tied game still, and we have a completely different script to this. So you could see just what one player sitting will do for the outcome of a game, right? But what I'm trying to convey is that it was a lot closer than the scoreline showed. And up until that Rothrock goal, which you can make the argument would not have happened with our best 11, it was still anybody's game, and LAFC showed fight. And if you recall, our guest, Leo Punk, I forgot his real name, but Leo Punk I like better. He did say to us, I expect a 2-2 game with my team giving up a late goal to tie it up, right? And that's exactly what happened, even though it wasn't enough for us.
Yeah. No, 100%, and it was interesting because Seattle was fairly rotated as well. It's not like Seattle.
Yeah, they had some holes, but they still started De La Vega. They still started Reagan, their backup keeper has played way more games that Hassal has for us. It's known that Fry is likely going to step away, and
their first goal came from a guy who plays for
there.
Yeah, their first goal came from a guy from Tacoma Defiance. They had one of their B guys got called up for this game, and he put the first one in. So, but no, at the end it was a bunch of guys that weren't gelled together. And to Seattle's credit, their bench, they also have a pretty good bench. People they talk. We when we're healthy, we have a very deep bench. And Seattle also, but a lot of their bench has been with the team longer, so they have a year and a half, 2 years of practicing with the first team guys, so that they kind of have that familiarity. Whereas we have guys coming in who just got here, and haven't really played long with the team.
Now, yeah. We take the loss. We move on. We got a bigger fish to fry, and
Martinez
away a little bit from a scheduling standpoint as well, right? Because once we get past the Crew, if we do, and we should, that means we don't have a game against, maybe Miami. Should be Miami until the beginning of next month. So that gives our boys a little bit of time to rest. If, again, the injuries to heal a little bit more, I think Chanel should be ready, hopefully by then. It was a head injury, which was listed for him. So I bet there might be some more cautionary aspects of it. I don't know the details of it. I might be able to find some more information about Marlon, so I'll pass along anything I know when I know it. We have some contact with Marlon and people around him, so whatever I get to know about him, I will pass it along. But I hope that this little break gives us, what we need, which is depth and some of our main guys coming back so we can have a full squad against Miami if indeed that's end up being the case. And in the meantime, a couple regular season games, right? First off, we're going to have, basically another early game, Eric. 12:45 regular season match, LAFC, Austin. Let's start talking a little bit about this game. I haven't watched too much of Austin yet this season. Have you? What are you seeing from these guys? What I see here is they're in 10th place, have won a game. Is that what it is here? Have they even won a game? Yes, they won a game and lost 2. So they're doing all right, I guess, for the beginning of the season. But hey, they're coming here to LA, if I'm not mistaken, here for another early affair. What are your expectations for this game? I guess we get to see Ilya Sanchez come back. What is that going to be like, right?
Oh, I mean, he's going to get he's going to get some cheering, that's for sure. And then they have their Nico Estevez as their coach right now as well. They don't have Wolf anymore, although I think the Wolf's kid still plays on the team. No Drew
there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no Driussi, which is weird. They still have Stuver, and who else? Danny Pereira, I think, is another one.
Well, yeah, no, they have an interesting team, and we're gonna have a guest to talk to us a little bit about that game. In fact, he's here with us. He's Logan from Verde Nation, so we're gonna bring him on. Hey, Logan, thank you so much for coming over and talking to us about this weekend game. You are on Section 128, new LAFC podcast. Just so you know and understand, Section 28 is right behind the visitors' goal. The visitors' bench. And my first question to you is what do you think the treatment should be to Ilya Sanchez from Section 128 fans when he arrives at that bench? Or, I'm sure he's going to be starting, but what should LAFC fans be like around Captain Sanchez, as I like to call him?
Oh man, nah. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me. Can y'all hear me? Okay.
Yep, you're
Very
good.
good.
Okay,
Thanks for
cool.
having it.
Nah,
Thanks
thank you.
for
Yeah,
coming.
no, thank you again. I think Ilie Sanchez, one of those players, world class player. I mean, just looking at his history in the league, I don't think there should be too much hate. I don't think the fans, LAFC, I don't know. Ilie, just to me, I haven't known him that long, but I don't think he's that guy that you could just hate. So hopefully there's love there. But at the end of the day on the pitch, obviously is a different thing. No, I definitely hope he gets some love, and it is what it is. But happy to have him.
Yeah, I'll put money on that he's gonna get a nice round of applause and a
I
lot of love
agree.
there, man.
There's
Right.
no hate for me
Yeah,
Yeah.
about that, man.
yeah.
Go
No,
ahead, Eric.
we're happy he went there. He was kind of one of those guys that was getting phased out of our midfield, and it's great that he found a good home with you guys there. I think he'll be much less toxic than Driussi.
Nah, man, don't get me started. But no, it reminds me a lot of Ring. Like it was kind of the same thing. It's probably better for the cap space, but you don't want to have to send a player off like that. But it just ends up working out, and yeah, definitely a guy who for us at least is going to help us and has already helped us a lot in the midfield. So quality player. Nah, yeah, definitely. Like I said, happy to be here and talk footy with you guys.
Yeah. So tell us about your new coach and kind of the way the team is. Do you have kind of a feel of how they're starting to play this year, or how their identity has changed from past versions of Austin FC?
Yeah, no, it's that's kind of been the talking point for Austin fans. I mean, for us, not only did we make a lot of changes in the off season with player acquisition, but yeah, like you're mentioning, we bringing in a new head coach. I think when there was that moment where Josh Wolf kind of expired his tenure here, it's like, okay, who are we going to bring in? And then we have Rodolfo Burrell, our new sporting director as well. Mentions that I guess he came out and said, Nico was his guy. He came out and said that that's who the coach he was going to go with. Experience playing in Texas, playing in the heat. Experience obviously with Austin FC in the short time we've been in the league. But no, seeing this team play not only these first 3 games, but just kind of the preseason, we were able to attend the Coachella Valley Invitational. Kind of getting a little bit of a feel. Obviously, you can't tell too much from preseason, right? Just kind of trying some things out. But overall, it looks like Esteves is a forward-moving, a progressive coach. He wants to put the ball in the back of the net, kind of as opposed to maybe the, previous I can't really say versions, but previous version of Austin FC where we're seeing more possession-based, kind of building out of the back, holding on the ball, maybe running up through the flanks, trying to cross into the box. I think, it's a fresh start. Like I said, not only players, but Nico Esteves, we haven't seen too much from him, but he's also learning, trying to get acclimated and just trying to figure out what works best with the pieces that he has.
Nice. Did you travel out for the Coachella preseason?
No, I didn't get to make it out there, but we were following heavily. So me and the guys that, shout out to all the guys at We're Austin TV, obviously been doing a lot of collaboration with them, been on the team. I'm mostly focused on like graphics and things like that, but we were working heavy in the off season, just, covering the team preseason. So it was great. We were all over it. I think next year we're going to be able to send some guys out, but no, we didn't make it out this year.
Yeah, I was gonna say it is a fantastic place to be in early February. You can't really do any better in the whole country than the Palm Springs, Coachella Valley area. I mean, it's like a 60 to low 70s and like blue sky. It's gorgeous weather.
Yeah, and that little tournament's growing too. I think it started something kind of just for the teams, and then fans started making the trips, and now people are coming and going, and press. There's more press around it too. So it's fun. It's a good start. They should probably try to figure out a way to make it more an official thing and incorporate it into our calendar. But it is what it is. It's good to be out there. If you can make it, great. But hey, I have to ask you here. I was reviewing the history of the two teams when they play each other. 7 wins for LAFC, only 2 for Austin, right? So it's been a pretty one-sided match there. What are your expectations for this game? LAFC is going to be coming in a little bit banged up from the weekday games. Do you think that gives you an advantage to maybe turn this around a little bit and find a win or find some points at BMO? Or what are you thinking about this game?
Yeah, no, I think it's exactly like you said. I mean, if you look at the matchups, obviously it's no secret, it's always been in favor of LAFC. I think for both sides, both made a lot of changes. So, right, they're different teams completely. I think exactly as you're mentioning, obviously you guys are in the CCC and maybe a little bit more of a rotational lineup, but you can never count out any team in this league. I don't think any of us should go into it thinking we have the upper hand, and also one Austin FC fans who are listening, to not go into it thinking that, historically we lose, against LAFC. We should just kind of focus on the next game. But no, I think this Austin FC squad is promising. So for the first 3 games, maybe we haven't got the results that we as a fan base probably wanted. But I think this is a good opportunity for us to, although, like you said, on the road at BMO, but I think it'll be a good opportunity where if we can capitalize on some of these chances that we've been creating, some of these opportunities, and get some balls in the back of the net. I mean, we have players like Brandon Vasquez who we're bringing in who are still searching for their first goal. I think if it's a game where maybe we can turn something on. One thing I noticed, like you're mentioning, kind of looking at the matchups, anytime Austin FC has scored first, we've managed to get at least a point. We only have 2 wins, so those were also the wins that we grabbed. And then on the other end of it, it's like when LAFC scores first or when we concede first, we're almost pretty much guaranteed to lose that game. So I think it's a matter of just who comes out first, who comes out strong. I think LAFC, there may be some issues on the back line. I'm not too familiar with LAFC, but I'm hoping that we can capitalize kind of on this game.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead, Eric.
Oh, I was saying, look at it. Looks like Austin's kind of been playing two number 9s, like double 9s. So it'll be interesting. I think in our case, Trundolo, when he sees double 9s, usually likes to put 3 center backs in, which is where we're kind of shallow, which would be Nico Tafari, who I'm sure you remember from his Dallas days.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he's like kind of like a Dennis Rodman of MLS.
Exactly. That's a great way to describe him.
Yeah, and then we have, and then it's going to be Eddie Segura since Marlon went out, and Marlon, I had picked to be like a best 11 MLS center back. I mean, he's only in this league because he failed a couple physicals for bigger teams, and so that's why he's here. And then Aaron Long, who's just been great. So I think with that we'd probably see 3 center backs, but as Celso said, we might be a little rotated with our game tomorrow, but after tomorrow, we do go on a 3-week stretch of like 1 game a week, so we'll have a little more time to prepare. But kind of going around, I guess, with a question, who are the Austin players that are kind of new that you think have a chance to really be a breakout star this year?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think one of the biggest names right now, obviously, our club record signing, the most recent signing, Mirto Suni, Albanian international striker. He's dangerous. Still getting acclimated to the team. He made his first start at home here versus Colorado this past Saturday. And the guy is he's a hunter. He's all over the place. He's not tall, but he's dangerous on the headers. We saw in Colorado, again, we end up losing that match 1-0 at home. Not the result we wanted, but we looked solid. Like, there was maybe a little bit of a spill on the back line, but still probably could have did a little bit better to get to that one. But we end up losing. But looking back at the rewatch, I mean, he hits the post, he hits the crossbar. He's getting over guys over top. And, like I said, he just making every single effort. So I think he's going to be one. He was, I think, Granada. He's coming from La Liga. I think they're in the second league right now. But, I think he's their all-time leading scorer. So past few seasons, he's had double digits, scoring in La Liga.
49 in 105 matches.
Exactly. So I think for him coming in, he really is going to be trying to make a name for himself in MLS. I think he said he had one other friend who plays in MLS. His name is escaping me. He's another Albanian, but no, that's probably going to be the main guy that I would say is here to make a name for himself. Kind of other guys that we've signed to probably look out for. Besar Savovic, he's a guy that we brought in as a free agent from Djurgården's Swedish league. He defensive midfielder, definitely somebody who is a really effective player in terms of long ball play over the top, just in terms of switching the plays, complete. If you look at his highlight reels, he's sending balls like from the complete opposite side of the field. So no, definitely a lock player. But as far as making a name, I think Mirto Suni is going to be the guy that he is here to make a name.
Well, you pretty much gave your lineup here, so we're getting to the end of our program here. Eric, we need to get out of here on time. We've been terrible with that, so we got 3 minutes to finish it up. So, Logan, I would like to, if you can, just give us the lineup that you think is going to field, and also, you can give us your prediction of what do you think is going to happen here, your score for this weekend game.
Sure. Yes, sir. Yeah, no, definitely. I think for the lineup prediction, I would say Stuver is more than likely lock on goal.
Yeah.
Right back, we just seen Dessler go down with an injury, hamstring. We don't have any information on that. They're thinking probably, today or tomorrow we'll get an MRI, but we'll get more information. So more than likely he won't be in there. Probably we'll see John Gallagher at the right back. Center back, same thing, a little bit thin as far as center backs go. Julio is out for 2 to 4 weeks. Julio Cascante. So we'll probably see Svatak, which is Ukrainian national center back. On the other center back, we'll probably see Brendan Hines-Ike, somebody we brought in from DC United, I believe was his last team. And then left back, we got Guilherme Biro, the young Brazilian. He's been very promising for us.
He's a pit bull, man.
Man, what he's a very, I love him. I love that guy. He's a very attacking minded player, but we'll definitely see him. I think left back position is a lock for him. Midfield is going to be where we kind of maybe see some changes. So we're 3 games in. Like I mentioned, the results kind of haven't been in our favor, but I think that's where we may see some things change. I think we will see Ilie Sanchez in there. He's currently our captain, so get him some minutes. I think we'll also see we have a very young midfield, Owen Wolf and Danny Pereira. I think maybe one of them will get rotated. I think we may see Besad Sarovic get his first start. And then we'll pair them with somebody else in the midfield, either Owen or Danny. And then as far as our offensive, we'll see Brandon Vasquez in there. That's our lock striker. Like you're mentioning, we're running forward with the 4-4-2, so probably see Mirto Zuni in there as well. Osman Bukhari is our other DP, and then
he's quick.
He's a threat as well. But no, I mean, all of these players, they're very promising. So I'm just happy to see. And as far as my prediction goes, I told the boys, man, I would think a draw would be considered a victory for us, just given our form. I would say 2-2. I think we're really going to be able to get some goals going, but I think LAFC is going to find a way to get some goals as well. Jeremy Abobasi, if you guys end up playing him, he has a knack for scoring against Austin FC. So, I think you guys will find a way to tie it up, and it'll be a good, hard-fought game.
Very cool. Eric, all right, man.
I love learning. Yeah.
It's usually a very fun game.
Which,
so
funny enough,
I loved playing Austin real quick. I just love playing Austin. It's one of the most fun games. It's during I love the game day games as well. Like during the day games, I think it's a different vibe, but it's going to be interesting playing Austin this weekend after CCC.
Right.
Eric, I'd like to hear your prediction. Give us the lineup. I will not give the lineup, but I'll give my prediction as well. We've been agreeing on the lineups too much, but go ahead and give me your lineup for the weekend game. And then your prediction. You've been really hot, so tell me what's going to happen.
All right. So I think we'll rotate a little bit, but not too much for this one. I do actually think that Giroud is going to start up top because of Bobasi, I think, may go 90 against Columbus unless we coast right out on that, in which case they might rotate him. But I think we're going to go with a 3-4-3. As I said, since Austin likes to field 2 number 9s, I think Dolo is going to counter that by going 3 center backs, which is going to be Aaron Long, Eddie Segura, and Tafari. And I believe also getting the start at left back is going to be our Ukrainian Artem Smolyakov, or Smolyakov, who just got here a couple weeks ago. Very raw, but I think he'll probably rest. The right back is going to be a combination of Palencia and Hollingshead, and this is just for load management. They'll each probably go 45. And then our midfield is going to be Delgado, and I think Tillman will get some time there as well. And also Igor Jesus. And then I think up front's going to be Giroud starting at the 9, and I think Seni's Under is going to get his first start on the right wing. And then I think left wing is probably going to be Denis Bouanga with Martinez coming in. So you're going to end up getting our brand new DP right winger that came in for 6 months from the Turkish league that hasn't played yet. And basically for me, looks like a left-footed Denis Bouanga. Like, he's almost the same player. He loves to shoot. He goes for net. But this is how LAFC scores. And we score through our wingers. We don't really score through our 9, whether it was Bogusz last year playing the false 9 or Ella before that who played the false 9 back in the 2022 season. So
I'm sorry, Eric, I lost you there. What was your prediction again? Final score?
My score prediction, I think LAFC is going to scrape this one through 2-1, and the
classic 2-1. Yeah, definitely high scoring game for me. So over 2.5 goals, however that is. If you bet, I would bet that. I really believe that it's going to be like a goal fast. A little bit of a defensive unawareness, I guess, from LAFC at times, which is normal for a team that's played too many games. You start seeing some fatigue in the back there that will lead to some goals. Brendan Vasquez might find his first goal. That would be fun for him. Maybe even Giroud might find his first goal with the new buddy, Saint-Gilles. Before you got here, I thought maybe having a new pal was something that he needed to find that space. But I'm excited for this game. I think it could be like high scoring, high tempo. Both teams trying to show these new rosters that they have, these new weapons. And we end up with a crazy score like we had this weekend with LAFC, but LAFC being on the front side of this one. So I got LAFC winning this 4-2. Goal fast, goals everywhere. We don't know what's going to happen, but we pull out at the end with a 4-1. And Giroud scores, by the way. Giroud's going to score this weekend as well. So 4-2 for me. But
wow.
Anyways, go ahead.
Vegas odds must be crazy on that one at this point. That's got to be like a 6-1 with Giroud scoring a goal.
What, for him to score? Yeah, I have no idea. I'm not betting my money on that thing. That's just like burning money. I don't want to do that. But
if it makes you feel better, Austin FC has a history of giving players their first goals of the season. So I'm not saying I wanted to happen, but
I hate streaks. And Toronto hates streaks, right? And, if you ask him, he doesn't believe in them. So I think eventually this man has to find the back of the net. And maybe it's against, again, a team like Austin that's kind of they're trying to find themselves a lot of new pieces, just like us. Go fast. LAFC comes out with the win. But look, Logan, appreciate you being here in our new show. Again, we're still kind of trying to build this thing. Again, apologize once again for our technical difficulties today. I think I got that video queued up. But with that, I want to thank you, Eric, once again for being my co-host alongside with me and just talking LAFC. And plug your show. Where do we find you, Logan, and how do we find the work that you do?
Yes, sir. No, thank you again for having me. Definitely was nice to talk footy with you guys. My name is Logan. I run the Verde Nation page. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, on Verde Nation ATX. I've been doing a lot of work. Big shout out to the guys over at We're Austin TV. They've I do a lot of the graphic work for them, but yeah, we've been going crazy as a team. So shout out Hernan and Alex, of course, Brian doing all the production. Man, yeah, they're all good people. So essentially anywhere you can find them, you can find me. So if you follow them, you've seen my work in some way, shape, or form. But shout out Brian for the production. Shout out Primo, Bali, the whole squad. But definitely, like I said, appreciate y'all guys having me, and I'll get the word out about the section 128.
Absolutely, man. I really appreciate you being here. Eric, thanks again. Good luck. Maybe I'll see you this weekend. I'm 50-50 on that game, but one thing won't change. You will be there. You don't miss them very often, and it will be a good game against Austin, as usually is. And with that, I want to thank everybody for being here on Section 128. We'll be back next week. Hopefully, we'll have an intro. And with that, we're out, sir. See you later. Let's see if we can get this thing to play.
Off the line.
Thomas, he doesn't catch it. It's still loose in there. It's cleared and now it's put in. Ordaz will claim it. LAFC equalize. Martinez carrying. Morris defending still. David Martinez.
Oh my goodness.
That's the
John Thornton has done so many good things at LAFC, but one of the biggest surprises in tenure is the fact that he signed this guy when Ajax, Bayern Munich, and everyone else was all over one of the best 18-year-olds in the world. Can he be more